Good morning, this is Rich Nelson with Allendale. We have a special update for you. Today is June 10th of 2016. Now, today is monthly USDA report day, and for the month of June, this is kind of a transition report. Just like the May report, USDA is still going to use the same acreage that they used as far as corn and soybeans from the March 30th, 31st prospective planting report. And also for this report, there is no change in yields for either corn or soybeans for USDA's new crop numbers. So this is pretty much all a demand discussion as far as the U.S. side of things, and a South American production and demand discussion as far as that goes. Now, over on corn, let's just get right to the bottom line numbers here as far as corn ending stocks on the old crop. USDA was actually pretty proactive. They added 100 million bushels to the current old crop export estimate here, a very aggressive move for just 1 month here. Now, as far as the reason behind that, well, they didn't touch the Argentina corn numbers at all. What they did do is they aggressively touched the Brazilian corn numbers. In fact, I was a bit surprised to see them drop the Brazilian corn crop from 81.5 million tons to now 77.5. Maybe a little more people were expecting. I believe the average guess going into this report was for a 79 million ton. So we did lower the Brazilian crop more than expected. As far as the Brazilian export number, that was lowered 3.5 million tons to now 22.5. So 3.5 million tons equals about 138 million bushels. That's why USDA cut or added to the U.S. side 100 million bushels on the old crop corn and export numbers. So we saw ending stocks now 1.708 billion for old crop. On the new crop side, USDA, of course, did not touch any production numbers, which is what they normally would do at this point in the year, and they added 50 million bushels to the export number. So these two issues combined, the changes with old crop plus the new crop export number, they now have these new crop stocks at 2.008 billion bushels. And that's, of course, a good drop from last month's 2.153. So as far as the corn numbers, they tightened primarily because of the issue with Brazil's corn crop. I was actually a bit surprised to see USDA cut numbers so aggressively as far as that goes. Over on the soybean side of things here, well, USDA was a little more proactive on not just exports, but also crush. A little surprising to see there, too. Exports were increased on the old crop end by 20 million bushels. They added 10 million bushels to the old crop crush. And therefore, we saw old crop ending stocks drop from 400 million bushels to now 370. Now, as far as the export change, that's a good moderate change, very reasonable. The crush side is actually where things get quite a bit sticky. Now, before these changes, keep in mind we are already missing USDA's hopes as far as their number for the whole year crush. In fact, we've got to beat the next 4 months in a row as far as crush pretty darn aggressively. And we actually haven't beat last year's pace for 6 months in a row. So as far as crush, we were already behind. Now, on the bull side of things here, let's point out that with this meal and oil higher pricing, we, of course, have some good margins right now. Not as good as a week or 2 weeks ago, but they are still very good for this time of year. So there's actually a very good debate going on as far as whether we'll hit USDA's old crop crush number or not. And certainly at this point, it's still too early to call. As far as new crop numbers, USDA added 15 million bushels to their export number. Therefore, the old crop and the new crop changes, we now have new crop stocks down from 305 to now 260 million bushels. Over on the South American side, USDA did not touch any numbers as far as the Argentine soybean crops on the old crop, and they added 2 million bushels to the Brazilian I should say they took off 2 million bushels for the Brazilian soybean number, now 97 million tons. As far as the other issues here we're looking at across the board, I see South American exports, no change for Argentina. Looks like they did drop Brazil, but actually by a moderate amount from 59.5 to now 58.75. As far as China, actually, it was surprising to see USDA didn't touch the import number there. Now, one of the things that we can argue, which is bullish here, is that Chinese imports are certainly at a much stronger pace than what USDA is implying right here with their 83 million ton change. So as far as corn, that was bullish. As far as soybeans, that's bullish as well. On the wheat side of things, it kind of changes a little bit here. USDA did recognize we have a very, very good crop right now as far as the current hard red crop. Therefore, they raised production by 79 million bushels now to 2.077 billion bushels. On the wheat end of things here, the old crop marketing year is now done. Of course, June 1st is the start of the new marketing year. Therefore, USDA is still making some minor changes to your old crop numbers, and we actually won't get the final number until the June 30th grain stocks report. Again, we won't get the final old crop ending stock number for wheat until June 30th, even though the marketing year is officially done right now. As far as other changes to look at, well, we, of course, had that big jump on new crop production, 79 million bushels. That was partially offset here by some changes with imports, also some higher feed residual use, and therefore USDA raised stocks from 1.029 billion bushels to now 1.050. Looking across the other issues as far as world, no major changes to speak of as far as ones which are going to be market impacting here. So for our discussion point today, a bullish corn, bullish bean number, and as far as wheat, you can argue that was maybe a little bearish here. As far as market impact, keep in mind right now the market's also focused not just on numbers from USDA, but certainly weather for South America, and now more important, weather for the U.S., which is still a supportive issue for the short term. If you have any questions about this report, how to trade these markets, or how to market crops in this environment, feel free to give Allendale a call, 1-800-262-7538.